Pooh so mad cause he can do it like me. Pooh stay mad cause he sippin' that tea. Pooh so mad can't get it like me. Wanna ride out with lovely. When you see me coming to the DKHizouse, you all lit and you know what we're talking about. When you see me coming, step in, step out. When you see me, we gon' run our mile. It's the DKHizouse for sure. You see me coming and I'm coming back for more. When you see me and I see you, we at the His House. We do. Alright, welcome to the His House. We're gonna talk about it. Africans versus African Americans. Do they really vibe together? Are we really from Africa? Like, what's tea with shade? So let's get into it. I have had the experience of dating and marrying Africans. Okay, and I gotta laugh because that story alone is hilarious. But we'll keep going. We'll get back to that later. So a lot of African Americans say, "Oh, I'm from Africa. Let me rep my African culture. This and this and this and that." But they're finding sometimes that they don't really connect with the Africans that they do see. So how can you be from a place if you're not really connected to the culture? I'm not talking about you are told that this is your heritage in the history book, so that's why you want to connect. I'm talking about like you really want to be involved in the things that they know, that they do, that they take a part of. I also have Indian heritage in my bloodline, and a lot of people that are African Americans do actually have Indian in their bloodline, whether they know it or not. There's a story behind that. We'll get into another day, but this is Black History Month, so you might as well talk about it a little bit. Yeah. So to be quite honest, no. Um, I don't feel connected to the African culture. Like it is really above me or beneath me. Like true enough, like I respect the African culture because they're strong people, they're hard workers, they're spiritual people, and they are go-getters. Like I do respect that about that. And they're beautiful people. And despite what people portray with the media, I've met some really like tough Africans. Like they do not play. They have good morals. And of course you see this bad side of Africa, but there's plenty of city life, plenty of wealthy, abundant Africans. A lot of Africans are making money. So I do commend that side of Africa. I respect that side, even though it's not really shown. Indians, I did have the opportunity to spend some time in India. It was an experience as well. I got to talk to Swami G, who was one of the gurus that I was following at the time. And India, I really didn't feel connected to India that much as either. Besides, like they have this, spiritual awakening thing going on, the third eye healing, and they believe in spiritual stuff like that. And they have this little dot on their forehead. Like I was really into that. I was feeling that. And I connect with their music, I connect with their dance. Their food, not so much. However, when it comes to African food, I love me some African food. So that kind of makes me feel at home with Africa. Like, I love their food. But I'm also scared of some parts of Africa because you feel like they're into this dark, demonic culture, even though all of it is not dark. It's just a lot of misinformation. And then you hear stories about how they were a part of helping the slaves get captured in slavery times. Like, it's just a lot of stories that go on. But in my experience, I really don't feel like there was a connection between Africans and African Americans. I haven't felt this way. I really don't feel this way. Even though Africans are doing it big. Africans are leading the game. Like, they have a movie that's really very popular that's all over. Idris Elba was one of my crushes for a while. He has ties to Africa. We have several African models. What else? I was gonna say. We have a popular tea page that has ties to Africa. So they are about their paper. They are not going to play games with you. They're go time, extra time. They're go-getters. Don't play with them. They are that. But as far as me ever feeling respected, validated among Africans, it was always it was very uncomfortable, and I felt a lot of times I use Africans, even though I kind of they use me and I use them. Like I felt like they use me, and I also felt used by them. It wasn't no connection, even though, like I said, I've dated them, I was married to them. Like it was very much separate. Even when I was married to my one particular African, I tried to give it the benefit of the doubt, like he was really into it. But at the end of the day, I felt towards the end that he really wasn't as much as I thought he was, and like we were just there, you know. But it was like we had separate culture. Everything he did was African, everything I did was American. And it got to be very much culture shock. And even with him, learning him, like you twerking, that's not something they really do. And I feel like a lot of times African Americans embarrass Africans because some of the stuff that they do, like this frequent sexuality, is not something that they really buy into. These babies at young ages, like, no, their parents do not play. Some of them even stay with their parents up until adulthood, and like they have strong ethics. Like they are year early, instead of, oh, you know, be on welfare. That talk is nonsense. They may slap you over that talk. It's like you're going to be a doctor, you're going to go to school. So they're a lot of their critique or dislike for Africans is because African Americans are so misinformed about their culture, them, and it's because we get the stigma of what Africa is when it's not really all that. I mean, the Africans that I've met had money, or they knew people who had money. It was nothing, you know. But we thinking, okay, we say African, no, they're broke or they're struggling. And I even had a counter of an African in school, like, you know, it was a crazy situation. Because I met people from all parts of Africa, not just Nigeria. And I felt, and her name was Blessed. And she was blessed, little did I know. Like right now, she's probably a doctor somewhere. But it was like I judged her because she was a foreign country. And she was really just barely speaking the language. She kept to herself. And a lot of times she was inadequate with a lot of stuff that she had. And we really didn't connect. But my heart goes out to her. And I know she was probably stronger than I ever gave her credit. Because she absolutely came by herself. And that's just what they do a lot of times. They're resilient. They would travel overseas and not know a single person. But I don't feel like there's a connection with Africans and African Americans. And it does concern me. Not saying that it can ever be a connection. I just feel like Africans just have a high standard. Like you hear like white people, how they expect the great things for their family and they go after riches and stuff like that. Africans are like that. Like they're go-getters. They want the nicest stuff, the nicest house, expensive things, money. They're opulent. You know, they like to look nice, smell nice, especially if they have ability to do that. Even though if they don't, they're gonna still make do with what they have. And you're not gonna make them feel bad about it. But I don't feel like there is a connection, and it's kind of concerning because so many people are quick to jump to, oh, I need to learn about my culture, I'm Africa. But it's hard to want to do that if you're not going to be accepted by a culture that you feel you're a part of. A lot of African Americans don't know where they fit in. In reality, our culture, original culture, I feel, is not truly, I feel like we're a mixture of, like, I feel like I have a little African in me, a little Indian in me, but I feel like our true culture is not even what we've done. Like, I feel like our culture was taken from us. Like, white people is probably living our culture in real life. But that's okay. They came and they conquered, you know, they did Thanksgiving for giving them their culture and they bounced. So a lot of times we don't feel like we fit in because a lot of our culture has been degraded. We can't find it. We don't feel like we fit in. It's because somebody has taken our culture and given us a false representation of it. The Indians that we see is not the Indians of what were true, especially when we talk about black Indians. The Africa that we see is not really the representation of the black African culture that some of us dealt with. So a lot of us don't know our culture. It's because our culture has been put in reverse and hidden from us. So a lot of the time you have to go within to find your true identity. Otherwise you may never know. But yes, I don't feel like Africans truly accept Americans, but they're coming through full force, regardless if we deal with them or not. they're going to be coming in, they're going to be taking over, and with open borders and all these people getting over here by any means necessary, we're going to see a lot more of them on the screen. They're going to be taking over the music screen, the modeling scene. Like, they're already been taking over, they're going to continue to take over, and I'm not mad at them. Like, I generally respect Africa, but it's also like I want them to respect me. I'm not going to respect nobody who doesn't respect me. But I also feel like we have a lot of disconnects because of our culture's differences and not being aware of where they come from, and they keep a lot of stuff secret and a lot of stuff they don't want to share. They have a right to keep their identity separate and private. That's their culture. But y'all let me know down below, how do you feel about Africa, your connection to Africa? What about Indians and your connection to that? And how do you feel about your culture and not really fully being aware of it altogether, feeling out of place? Because it's really a thing. And that's another way to keep people in bondage, keep people disconnected and feeling not themselves. You don't know who you are. I'm sorry, but I gotta go right now. We come to the end, but I gotta go right now. It's still